Welcome back to another edition of WeAreSC's Recruiting Roundup with Scott Schrader. I'm Dre'lon Brashier, and we're back on Monday with some more important recruiting news.
Thanks so much to Bird Dogs for sponsoring this video and sending me some of their signature Bird Dogs shorts. Their design fits slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving me a truly sculpted look. Other shorts are made of restricting, stiff cotton, but Bird Dogs fixes this using cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but stretches to get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement.
Order your Bird Dogs today, and they'll give you this free white tech hat with your order. And yeah, you got to go to www.birddogs.com/USC or use promo code USC at checkout. That's www.birddogs.com/USC or promo code USC at checkout for the free white tech hat with your order. They also got these fantastic polo shirts. They're very breathable, look very nice at formal events, but also very sporty and athletic. So thank you very much, Bird Dogs. We'll start off with some good news for you guys. USC lands another commit with a four-star cornerback, Isaiah Rubin from Los Alamitos High School. He's the 50th corner in the 2024 cycle. Scott, if you want to give some insight for Isaiah Rubin.
Yeah, this was somebody that USC was really, really high on early in the process. You know, he's actually from Las Vegas, went to Desert Pines High School. I'm sure most USC fans are familiar with in Las Vegas. And you know, there was some stuff that happened and he kind of like fell off their radar, but worked his butt off and got back into it. And he's just been having a tremendous season. So USC picked up this recruitment. USC was kind of a dream school for him. So it was really, a big pickup for USC. Right now, there hasn't been a whole lot of good news for USC football fans, but this one will be, and may not seem like it right now as far as in the midst of a season here, but at some point, USC fans will understand that this was actually a significant pickup for USC.
For sure. And then moving on, USC has offered a receiver named Dre'lon Miller, and we covered him recently in the year, but he committed to Texas A&M with his friend Anthony Smith and teammate. And recently, just as of last week, Dre'lon Miller decommitted from Texas A&M. Scott, I'm wondering if you have any insight if we're still on his radar or vice versa, if he's on our radar, anything like that.
Yeah, he was somebody that when he left his USC official visit in June, it was kind of LSU or USC, and sources at LSU felt like it was going to be USC, so we put a prediction in for him at one time for the Trojans. But he took a visit to Texas A&M. With Anthony Smith, a good friend of his who's also from East Texas, like Dre'lon is, and he ended up, committing to Texas A&M. They have a very, very vibrant NIL program. So now, being he's decommitted, he's going to take some visits. He's going to take a few official visits, which he's already done to USC. But I expect LSU to get one. I expect Colorado to get one. There could be some other schools that come into play, but right now it's kind of looking like it's LSU, USC. Colorado's in there, but you never know what's going to happen between now and when it's time to make a final decision. But he is going to make an unofficial visit to USC before he does make that final decision.
Perfect. And hopefully maybe you can persuade his friend Anthony Smith from getting out of Texas A&M too.
Yeah.
Perfect. Moving on, USC has offered a four-star defensive lineman, Elias Williams, who is currently committed to Missouri. He's a number 52 lineman in the 2024 cycle. Scott, I'm wondering if you have anything to say about Elias.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of guys that get offered that we're not that familiar with. Guys that maybe they just kind of came on late, because you never know how these coaches are getting the video of these guys and how they become targets. Because there have been a few recently that USC really wasn't pursuing until they got film, and it was kind of late in the process. So I think this fits into that category. We will learn more about him if we feel there's a need to. Sometimes, guys that get offers at this point have interest, but it's really not going to develop. Like a couple of guys, a couple of linebackers that were offered last month, really the interest just was not even there to take a visit. So we'll find out more about this, but you can find out more at WeAreSC.com later this week on these guys.
Definitely. Perfect. And then we will start recapping the USC Utah game. Scott, you were there. I was also there. What did you notice from the sidelines?
Well, the first thing you notice is you notice that the defense got off to a really bad start again, and so, but you're almost expecting that now. You're almost expecting USC, if they're not down 7 or 14-0, for it to be right there 7-7, 14-14. Utah's a team that scored 7 points against Oregon State, and they scored 14 points against UCLA. So, it's USC gave up 30 something. And it looked relatively easy, even at the very end when they had to march down the field, Utah I'm talking about, to kick that game-winning field goal. So there's just, that wasn't what stood out, because that's just happening every week now. But what stood out to me in this particular game that was almost shocking to me is that it seemed like Marshawn Lloyd was sidelined completely at one point, and he was averaging 12.5 yards per carry. Yep. Now you can say, well, he fumbled or he had an incomplete pass. I guess that was kind of a no-brainer to overturn the one that ended up being an incomplete pass versus a fumble. But, it's not like he took Caleb Williams out after his third interception. So let's not, be hypocritical about taking guys out here. Let's not act like I'm the bigger man if you're the head coach on this one. Now, I understand that's probably the thinking. We're going to put in a guy we can depend on to not fumble and all that kind of stuff. At the same time, you're taking away a guy who, it's not like he has chronic fumble problems here. And he's a guy that was averaging 12.5 yards a carry. I guess if you don't think that's going to impact the football game by taking a guy out like that, I guess that's fine, but that seems like it's probably not going to be wise to do that in future games. But so, not to go on a long rant about what stood out, but that was the most glaring issue for me. And there were some discipline issues and whatnot as well, but I'll let you kind of give your thoughts on what stood out. But it baffled me that he did not play Marshawn Lloyd for almost 2/3 of a football game, right?
Yep, exactly. I mean, Marshawn Lloyd started off so hot. I was talking to my friends about it, and they were like, why is Austin Jones in right now? Like, Marshawn Lloyd had a great run, brought it down to the red zone, and they put in Austin Jones to finish the drive. That doesn't make sense. But another thing was play calling. I saw so many screens, whether it was running back, tight end, or wide receiver screens. That's way too many screens to call. Like, have some diversity within play calling. Like, that was atrocious. Play calling is bad.
It could be time to put away the sidearm passes too, the horizontal passes that you're talking about.
Those, and like it is
essentially what those are.
I don't know. I mean, like, the occasional screen is fine, but it's like 4 times in the same drive. Like, go down the field, look vertically.
Yeah. Well, and again, offensively, they didn't perform on how USC fans would expect, especially after the first 6 games and so on. You expect USC to maybe perform a little bit better than 32 points or 31 points, whatever it ended up being. But it defensively still, it's just a lot of pressure to have the offense be under every single week to have to score 40 points or more.
Oh yeah.
So, there was a lot of blame to go around in this particular game. I still think you're talking about a football team that has the ability to win every game it plays, has the ability to lose every game it plays. It's just a matter of are you going to go out there and execute? I think there has to be, even though the offensive line, a little bit of a shakeup there in this past game with Mason Murphy and Tarkin being moved, or Kingston was moved, right? Jared Kingston, sorry. I think there has to be other personnel movements as well. This is just us. We don't get to see practices, so we're just going based off what we see during games. I think you need to see more of Zion Branch as well.
And I mean, looking forward to next week.
They make a lot of average offensive teams and players look exceptionally good.
Yeah, they have a knack for that, for sure.
And it's going to likely happen at Cal as well. So it's
yeah. And then that just poses the question: what is Washington going to do to us?
Well, I don't know.
They're going to kill us.
You never know what's going to happen, but you have to expect that every team, and especially teams like Washington that had put up a lot of points, are going to do it against USC.
Of course.
And they scored 15 against ASU.
Fair.
No, but that doesn't matter because Utah scored 7 and 14 twice this year.
Exactly. And then next week we're at Cal, so should be an easier matchup. What do you think as far as that game goes?
It's another game to where you look at it on paper.
Yep.
And it's a blowout.
Yeah, on paper.
But if you look at it realistically, like we do, it's a close game.
Yep.
Is there a point spread, by the way?
Yeah, it's we're favored by 10. So Hopefully. I don't know. I feel like the offense, something's wrong with the offense. They can't, I mean, besides that, earlier in the game with a rushing game attack, there was not much passing game. Tosh Washington had a few long catches, but I'm not seeing enough, like, I don't know. Something just seems off. It's not all clicking there. What do you think?
No, I mean, it does not. It looks like everything is a little too hard.
Yeah.
You know, and nothing. They had a couple of defensive breakdowns that allowed them to have, you know, some big plays and all that kind of stuff. But it looks a lot different than it did early in the season. They're playing different types of opponents. I understand that, but it looks different than it did last year, because last year USC against Utah looked like they could score at will.
Yeah.
At Utah. You know, that first game I'm talking about. You know, and so look, they still scored 30 some points, which is enough to win a football game. You know, every other team in college football that's going to score 31, like any team in the SEC that scores 31 points against Utah is going to beat them by 2 touchdowns. Every team. That's good. I mean,
yeah. I saw a stat in USC's either like it was 107th out of 130 teams in terms of defense yards per game, and that's just abysmal. Perfect. And then another game to look out for next week is Oregon at Utah. The line is at 5.5, favoring Oregon. What do you think for that game?
Well, I think of Oregon's offense, and you know, not that I'm, you know, that impressed with or like, oh my God, Oregon's offense.
Yeah,
I'm not that guy, but I think they're going to be able to score 21 plus points, and I don't think that Utah can score that many.
The one thing they have going for them is that Utah's at home. So, I mean, that's definitely in their favor. I think Oregon handles them well. I think Oregon will look good against them and do what we couldn't do and beat them probably by the line's at 5.5. I think they'll beat them by 6 or more. But yeah.
I definitely, you know, obviously I'm taking Oregon in that game.
Definitely. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of WeAreSC's Recruiting Roundup with Scott Schrader. I'm Dre'lon Brashier, and we'll see you next week. Fight on.